Hello, everybody, and welcome to what I'm assuming is going to be the last college football show of the year. We're going to talk a little playoffs, and we're all going to weigh in with our choice for your national championship winner. I am joined, as I have been for the last couple shows here, with three of the finest college handicappers in the world. Of course, our usual partner in crime, loving life down there in Miami. Have you had a Cubano yet, Scotty?
I have not, but I have had a couple daiquiris.
All
So
right, fair enough.
there you go.
It's Scott Reichel. Everybody say hi to Scott. There you go. What's up, buddy?
How's it going? Good to
All
see
right.
you. You said it's the last show. I'm not sure if we're doing a breakaway show for the championship game. We'll see, but this
Doing a
might be the
live
last
show.
show.
Oh no, we had fun doing the live show last year. Not much of a game after a while, but we certainly had fun talking with everybody and interacting. So we'll see about that. Below him, in arrangement only, not in stature. You know him, you love him. He has his own show every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. where he talks about, I don't know, what is it? Food, politics? Oh, no, it's just parlays. Just parlays.
Tacos.
It's Chris King, everybody. What's up, Chris King?
Not much, Scott. What's going on with you?
Nothing, man. Just excited to talk a little football. And last but certainly not least, the pride of the great Pacific Northwest. You know him, you love him. He announces his presence every single week. It's Loud Esmond. What up, Loud?
Well, the Mayo Bowl is playing behind me right now, and we had discussed a very special nouveau mayonnaise, and I wanted to just show it to you here. This is
There it is.
Kewpie Japanese mayo that is all the rage right now in fine dining establishments
I can,
across the United States.
And I can attest to that as well, as we were talking about before the show. Just a few hours after I learned about Kewpie mayo being a thing, my daughters said, "Yeah, we were going to have sandwiches tonight for dinner, but we ran out of Kewpie mayo, so we had to do something else." Well, there you go. So, weird, wonderful world out there. And by the way, we're sponsored today by Kewpie mayo. That's right.
So much for Dukes. Then Loud's got them on the TV, but now we're talking about Japanese mayo.
No, but the game's terrible. We've pivoted.
Next year it'll be the Kewpie Mayo Bowl. So we got a lot of bowl games today. We record this on Friday, so it's going to be a fun day. It's going to be a fun weekend, man. This is if this isn't your favorite college football weekend of the year, I don't know what to tell you, because we got a lot of jam-packed action, and then we have the Maryland game. So there you go. So let's get rolling, guys. We've got 2 games to talk about. Then we'll all make projections as far as who we think is going to go home with the title. We will start off first with the wrong what on earth? Sorry, guys. Hang on just a second here. I got to change this up.
Still nothing happening in that game.
Hey, come on, Maryland just moved down the field.
I mean, you got to give them some props. Maryland's about to settle for a red zone field goal. I mean, come on.
Still haven't scored. Back to you, Bob. All right, here we go. Let's start off. This is going to be the first game in your semifinals. It's the Fiesta Bowl from Glendale, Arizona. Oh boy, it's on the turf. Everybody's excited about that. It's going to be TCU and the Michiganders. This line, a lot of money coming in on Michigan as we speak, boys. It's gone up to 8. 8 is what it is. Let's start with you, Scott. Is TCU outclassed here? Is the ride over? Good game. Go home.
I'm not picking TCU to win. Let's put it that way. I think they could hang around. Of course, you don't really have any opt-outs that are worth mentioning of. However, there were some interesting situations involving defensive lineman Mazi Smith from Michigan, who got arrested for felony gun charges, but he played in the conference title game. So I don't know if he's going to play in this one or not.
Not convicted. Not
convicted. True, I guess. Let's put it that way. But either way, Michigan is the much better team, in my opinion, especially defensively. I think the issues with TCU's defense, and people have to wonder if this unit's going to hold up or not. Dugan got hurt in the conference title game, but he powered through it, led the team to overtime, and they lost to your Kansas State team. But I do think Michigan, at the end of the day, probably will wear down TCU. I just think in the defensive and offensive fronts, just in the trenches, I think Michigan's the better unit in both sides of the ball. So I think I'm going to lean to Michigan. The question is, if TCU can take away the ground game with Edwards and company, do you think McCarthy can do enough through the air? I'm going to say yes. I think he can. I don't think it's going to be an easy cover. I think this is going to be close throughout. Give me Michigan by 10.
Okay. Yeah, I don't hate that. This is a TCU team that really played with fire all season long as far as winning games. They needed second half comebacks to get past KU, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and Baylor. So I think they're gonna fall behind, and they're gonna find out that Michigan isn't like any of those four teams. Chris, what say you, buddy?
See, I actually like TCU with the points. You talk about how TCU play with fire. You got to remember, Michigan earlier in the year they struggled to get past Maryland. The same Maryland team that we're talking about is sucking in the Mayo Bowl right now. They had their issues with Iowa. They scraped by Illinois in November, where they won by 2 after being favored by 17.
That was a home game too.
Yeah, it was. Sure, they beat Ohio State. And, good for Jim Harbaugh on that front because he's now beaten them twice in a row. But before that, he was, 0-6? And then they beat up on a Purdue team that was just happy to be in the Big Ten title game because nobody else wanted to win it from the West. I think Duggan can do a decent job offensively. I like the run game. They've got 2 or 3 different backs in there. Can Michigan contain Johnston? Because I know he was banged up, but he still put up some big numbers this year. And
he's always banged up. The whole year has been banged up.
And I don't know if McCarthy can make enough plays if Edwards is shut down. Michigan obviously is going to miss Corum. I know Edwards had a big game against the Buckeyes, but you take away those big runs and you make Michigan grind out possessions. It's going to keep the game total in check, and it's going to give TCU a chance to cover. I'm going to take the points and the Horned Frogs.
Well, you brought up something with that conference title game with Purdue and how they were just happy to be there. I feel like it's a common theme, but I don't know how true it is. I kind of want to ask all of you. A team that maybe wasn't expected to be here when season started. They're finally in a big game, biggest game of the season. They haven't been to the college football playoff ever. Do you think that there's extra nerves, or do you think the moment might be a little bit too big for TCU because Michigan was here last year?
Yes, I think that's a thing. I think familiarity is a big plus at this point for Michigan.
Loud, what do you think?
Generally, I agree that can be the case, but this TCU team, there's something magical going on with this team. That quarterback, Duggan, put on one of the greatest performances of a college quarterback I've ever seen in that last game. I think it was a crushing loss, but it's a chance for them to get back on a big stage and show that they belong as a team and as a program. And I think they're going to be up for it. They're going to be ready to play.
Okay.
Don't underestimate Sonny Dykes.
I agree with that. I'll tell you the part that worries me about this TCU team. They gave up 620 yards on the ground their last 3 games. So I think Michigan, even without Corum, is going to be able to have their way with them on the ground, and I think that's ultimately going to be a problem. For me, if I wanted to play TCU, it'd be a first half play for me. I don't know that I trust them not to get worn down there in the second half. I think this is going to be a very physical team, perhaps the most physical team they've faced all season. So it's interesting. So we have a split. We have the top. Me and Scott are on Michigan. Yeah. Loud.
I just want to point something out. Michigan's been a bowl game disaster. They've lost 5 straight. They're 3-12 since winning the 2003 Outback Bowl over Florida. And the last 3 bowl appearances, they've been blown out. I mean, they melted down in that loss to South Carolina in 2016 and to Florida State. I don't know. My Jim Harbaugh hate just kind of seeps out of my pores. I can't stand him. I really, really want TCU to beat him, but I don't think they can beat him. I think it'll be closer than people expect, and I'm going to take the points. But in the end, I think Michigan is too much.
Right. I think coaching's also an edge, for my opinion. No offense to Loud, but I think Harbaugh's a much better coach than Dykes, and I don't think it's very close.
But you talk about familiarity about being there. Yeah, sure, Michigan was there last year. What happened? They got waxed 34-11.
Yeah, but you can argue that they have an extra chip on their shoulder because they got to the party the first time. Now they want to actually stay at the party.
Yeah, that's the thing. And the rhythm of the weekend and all the media stuff and all the things they have to do. I think it can be overwhelming for a team like TCU that doesn't not only doesn't have experience at this level. They don't have a ton of even big bowl experience, So we'll see. And as far as Sonny Dykes go, I don't know that you can draw a comparison because obviously Harbaugh's been in the spotlight longer. I don't think you can denigrate Sonny Dykes and say he is absolutely for sure not as good as Harbaugh. I just don't think we have complete information that we do with Harbaugh right now.
From what I've gathered, I'll let you go first, Left. Sorry.
Harbaugh is definitely a bigger jerk than Sonny Dykes.
That's fair.
And if there's any justice in the world, he loses this game. But you know what fair is? Fair is a place you judge pigs. Or in my case, my pygmy goats get judged at fairs. So that's the way it goes.
So Loud's taking justice, but he's taking the 8 points too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I still think it's going to be close. I said before, give me Michigan by like 10. I think it will come down to the wire. I just think Michigan eventually, I think Steen's going to agree with me here. I just think they wear TCU down in the fourth quarter and barely cover by 2 possessions. That's kind of what I see.
If it's a tight game though, and it comes down to making a play with an arm, I think you have, or your legs, I think you have to lean to Duggan over McCarthy though, because McCarthy hasn't impressed anybody throwing the ball.
I would love to see TCU with the last possession and a chance to win.
So would I. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I don't either, but that would be ideal for me. All right, so we've officially got we got 2 covers and we got 2 dogs. Very good, but nobody picks the outright win for TCU.
I think I'm also going to lean to the under in this game at 57.5. Michigan's going to try. I just think they're going to try to do what they always do, which is assert their dominance on the line of scrimmage. They're going to try to run the ball, drain clock. And I think Michigan's defense will give Duggan some problems early on. We saw Kansas State defense give TCU problems in the conference title game the last time we saw TCU. I'm going to lean under. I see Michigan once again clawing their way to a cover, but I see a lot of running clock in the fourth quarter.
All right, very good. Well, that's going to make the finals easy, at least on that side of it, because we all have Michigan moving on. So,
you have any thoughts on the total? I'm leaning under.
Yeah, I would call it a lean. I'm not going to. It's one of those games where I don't want to get involved with the over, but I'm not sure I'm going to be playing it. But if I had to make a bet, gun to my head, I'm on the under here. Guys, what do you think on the total?
Yeah, I mean, TCU's gone under in 5 of their last 6 against the Big Ten and 4 of their last 5 overall. I don't think Michigan's going to run away and pile up. This isn't going to be a 35-31 type of game. Now, this is probably going to end up somewhere in the 20s and end up under the number.
I'll tell you, before we get to Loud, I'll tell you the problem that could happen in this game with under players is you could find yourself, if you're TCU, you could find yourself down double digits early. Mm-hmm. And now we're going to have to take the top off and throw the ball. So I think, you get a crucial turnover early in the game that leads to points and you get a drive, maybe it's 10-0, 14-0. Then I think those unders may be in a little bit of trouble. Loud, what's your total on this one?
Yeah, I'm leaning under as well. I think Michigan's going to want to run the ball and wear them out, and it's not going to produce a lot of first half scoring. And then I think in the second half, they start to pull away.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Let's go to the other semifinal. This is going to be down there in the Sugar Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia. Almost a home game for the Dogs. We've seen this movie before as they go up against Ohio State. Now, early in the season, and in fact, all the way through about week 11, it looked like these 2 teams were absolutely on a collision course to meet in the finals. But due to Ohio State, what's a nice way to put what they did against Michigan? Not showing up.
They forgot there was a game.
I was going to say getting curb stomped, but however you want to phrase it.
Barfing all over themselves.
There you go. And it's an old your fantasy lineup's in trouble, Loud.
Sorry.
And an old favorite of the show, they absolutely shit the bed. No question about it.
There you go.
So Georgia currently a 6-point favorite. Let me see if I've got a little better number. These numbers have been pretty static all the way around.
Yeah, it's 6 or 6.5.
6 and 63 is your total. Although there are some 62.5s out there if you're looking.
Oh, see, I see a lot of 62s now.
Very good. Yeah, there's some 62 money as well. Guys, it's going to be probably a more anticipated game than the first game, although I think they'll both be entertaining. Chris, what do you think about this one?
I don't know what to make of Ohio State. You know, everybody likes to think that Ryan Day is a good coach and C.J. Stroud's this great quarterback that's going to be the savior for some team in the NFL next year. But like you said, they were horrible against Michigan. They struggled to beat Northwestern. I mean, come on, you scored 21 points against the Northwestern team that lost to Nebraska when the season started, and they beat Nebraska, and then things went downhill from there.
And Maryland, they were down. They were down against Maryland for some of that game.
They were down against Notre Dame in the first half.
In fairness, they ended up winning all of those games by double digits.
Yeah.
They did not have a game that they did not win double digits going into the Michigan.
The Ohio State and Maryland one had the fumble recovery touchdown at the end. So yes, technically that is true.
But I mean, they were favored by 37.5 points against Northwestern and scored 21. That's almost as good as, you know, Rochelle taking UMass plus 30 some points against Texas A&M.
The
weather was horrible in that game.
As good as they were a disappointment against the spread. They were just 5-6-1 against the number. So they were kind of overvalued by the markets all season long. So let me ask you, Loud, who would you rather have at quarterback? Would you rather have C.J. Stroud or would you rather have
Bennett?
Bennett, Stetson Bennett.
He definitely has a cooler name, Stetson. I mean, you know, that's just Stetson Bennett. I mean, he could walk right out of a Longmire novel, for God's sake. You know, Bennett doesn't look like much, but all he does is win and look pretty cool doing it. So I think, I'd take Stetson Bennett. The kid's got ice in his veins, and he's a winner.
Okay. All right. Rochelle, what about you? Who you take a quarterback?
It's tricky because Stroud is projected to be a first-round pick. Under no circumstance would I ever take him in the first round. Bennett might have no future whatsoever in the NFL. So in terms of talent, Stroud's better. However, Bennett has the experience. He won a championship. And I do think Bennett is more careful with the football. And Stroud might force some throws he shouldn't be forcing. Plus, Stroud really hasn't won any big games in his entire college career. He's 0-2 against Michigan. What games has he won? Has he won any big games?
That's true.
If I had to pick out of the two, Stroud's the more talented quarterback. But I think I'd lean Bennett because he's been there before. And the fact that he can legally rent a car because he's about 35 years old might help him out. I'm going to lean to Bennett. But I think it's close.
You know, we've talked about that before, about some of the old guys that are playing.
Oh, and he's on the transfer portal still. He's still available, so keep an eye out. But
yeah, the problem with Bennett is everybody forgets he's short.
Yeah.
He's 5'11".
He's mobile, though. Underratedly mobile.
No, I agree. But now there was quite a bit of improvement. And I want to see if this checks out numbers-wise, because anecdotally, yeah, he was well, you know what? His numbers were similar. He had more yards passing this year. Do you think Bennett took a step up this year, Chris?
I think he did a little bit. I mean, obviously, he wasn't supposed to be the starter last year because you had JT Daniels, who's now on his 37th school. So he had to step in, and as the season went on, he got better. And now coming back as a returning starter, of course, made things a lot easier. My concern is, will Ladd McConkey play after he got hurt in the SEC title game? Because that's going to be a big thing. Obviously, Brock Bowers is going to be a big factor. I'll tell you what, that guy's a tight end that, you know, makes more big plays. He's probably in the mold of Kelsey or a Mark Andrews. And I want to see how Ohio State tries to contend with that.
Yeah, when I watch Bowers, he just reminds me of Kittle. But you mentioned McConkey, who might not play. Also worth mentioning, Georgia's starting right tackle in McClendon has not practiced, and he suffered an MCL injury against LSU. Neither practiced based on the updates from about a day ago. So Georgia might be without its main slot receiver / punt returner and without its starting right tackle, which is why the line has kind of dipped to 6 from 6.5.
Yeah, Bowers is a monster. You're averaging as a tight end 15.8 yards per catch. That's something special, right?
He'd be a top 10 pick if he was allowed to enter the NFL draft, but he's too young. So him and Caleb Williams have to wait around for no reason to get drafted next year.
Yep.
And don't forget that 75-yard run that he had for a touchdown.
Yep. Yep.
How big of a deal do you think that is, though, with potentially missing one of your better wide receivers and you're starting a right tackle? Is that worth half a point? Is Georgia's backups just so good it doesn't even matter? How much do you think that's actually worth?
I think a point to a point and a half
Yeah.
would be somewhere in the neighborhood. But yeah, these SEC teams, especially the elite ones, they are so deep at every position. They've got 5-star guys that are third stringers.
No offense to McConkey, I care more about the right tackle.
No, that's fair. You can certainly make that argument. You can make the argument they have a lot more talented receivers than they do right tackles. So, all right, let's do rubber meets the road. Chris, Scott started last time. Let's get an official pick from you.
I'm going to go with Georgia here. I can't, like Scott said, I can't trust Stroud. He hasn't won any big games. I know he's got some pretty numbers. But, Trevion Henderson's not going to play. Smith-Njigba is not going to play. I don't trust Ohio State. I don't trust Ryan Day. Like, if we're going to go to the argument where you guys made about Michigan having been there last year and, Georgia won the title last year, and as Ric Flair always says, to be the man, you got to beat the man. I just don't think Ohio State can do it. I'll take Georgia and give the 6.
Okay, very good. Loud, what you got?
I think this game is going to be lopsided. I think if I was to say which game is going to be more lopsided, Michigan versus TCU or Georgia versus Ohio State, I think it's Georgia versus Ohio State. Georgia has looked fantastic all year. They've just buried just about everybody they've played. And the performance that Ohio State put up against Michigan, bad coaching, bad playing, bad decisions. They just looked like a team that really didn't belong there. So I'm going to say Ohio State wins this one. I'm sorry, Georgia wins this easily.
Okay, very good. No equivocation at all on his part.
None.
Scott, what do you got?
I'm with Loud on this one. I think Georgia wins by arguably 3 possessions, maybe 2. But I just think when you're looking at it, I already mentioned Stroud not winning really any big games in his entire career. Ryan Day, people know me as being the coach hater. I hate on pretty much every coach that exists. I'm really anti-Ryan Day. There's some quotes, of course, from Harbaugh that he was born on third base and he kind of inherited a great program and didn't really do anything with it. And I think there's one common theme in a lot of Ohio State's losses. They get punched in the mouth and they fold. They really don't have a lot of resolve when things don't go their way. And we saw it in the Michigan game. Michigan ran it down their throat. They were the more physical team, and Ohio State folded. And that's really how the game went. Now, Georgia's not as good at running the ball as they are in previous years, but you're looking at how physical Georgia is on every front. You got Javon Carter in the defensive line, who's an absolute monster. You're going down the line. I think Georgia's the more physical team, and I think Ohio State's going to fold. I think maybe they'll keep it close for a half, but I don't trust Stroud long-term. I think Day's going to get out-coached. And people were hard on Kirby Smart for not winning because he was in Saban's conference. He's still a really good football coach. It's just very hard when you're going up against the greatest of all time in the same conference every year and you to lose in the conference title game. I like Kirby Smart. I think he's a good coach, and I think that this team is one of the best college teams I've ever seen. So since you can make a serious case this entire season, it is Georgia and everybody else down here. I'm taking Georgia laying less than a touchdown.
Let me tell you a story, boys. Story about a plucky team.
Oh, is it story time?
Last year. It is story time.
I thought it was going to be a story about a man named Jid.
Last year, this team went 12-0, headed to their conference championship game, and got steamrolled by 17 points. Still managed to make the playoffs. What did they do in the playoffs? Well, they ran Michigan out of the building 34-11, and they had a rematch against that same team that beat them in the conference championship game. And they had a nice, easy win to bring home their first title in about 40 years. That team, who was it?
It was Georgia.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I think the same scenario sets up this year. Ohio State was fantastic all season long. And then they got run out of the building by Michigan at home. Very bad loss. I think they rally. I think they shock the world here. I think they get the upset over the Georgia Bulldogs and defeat Michigan in the finals. Ohio State Buckeyes, your national champions.
Just ask though, what exactly are you picking for the game script? Do you think Stroud goes nuts? Do you think the defense shows up? What exactly do you think goes well for Ohio State in this game?
I think the defense shows up, and I think this Georgia offense, which has shown at times to be inconsistent. I can't get that Mizzou game out of my head. I really can't. That was a game that Georgia absolutely deserved to lose. A team a little bit better than Mizzou would have had enough left in the tank to be able to close it out. They couldn't quite get it done, but by all rights, that should have been a Georgia loss. I think that same offense, when pushed, can kind of go in the tank. If the running game doesn't work, Stetson starts feeling the pressure, and I think Ohio State can make it happen.
Okay.
There you go.
So does that mean you're leaning to the over or you're leaning to the under?
I'm leaning to the under there.
Okay. I wasn't sure because I thought you just expect Ohio State to go nuts.
Nope. I think it's going to be a grind. I think Ohio State's going to match them blow for blow. I think this is a better team. This was a fantastic team for the first 10 games of the season, and now everybody's treating them like they're trash. I think that's unfair. I think they're undervalued. I'll take Ohio State with the points and to win outright at about plus 220, give or take.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody's saying Ohio State's trash, but you look at the teams they played, and the Big Ten was obviously down this year compared to what you see in the SEC, where there's always a bunch of good teams in there. I mean, who did Ohio State really beat that puts them on the map? The win against Penn State, where they were trailing in the second half. Who's their next best win? Notre Dame back in the opener, where, like Loud said, they struggled to win 21-10 in their own building against a Fighting Irish team that had no quarterback to speak of at the time.
I promise you, that's not a game. This isn't necessarily a game you want to play with Georgia. What's Georgia's signature win?
They beat Tennessee.
Okay. All right. There you go. That's it.
Tennessee was the number one team in the country.
How'd that work out?
And don't forget, they also beat Oregon back in the season opener.
I toss out, if they played that Oregon team again, that would not be 49-3.
I think they'd still win comfortably, but yeah, so it would not be 49-3. But
they also beat LSU.
I like the fact you're taking a stand and taking Ohio State, but at the end of the day, I also wonder how much of Georgia's season they were just bored. You're going through the entire season. You're the best team in the country. Nobody's close to you. You have a couple of games you overlook. Now you're going to the playoff. I think Georgia knew they were going to be in the playoff when the season started. I mean, let's be real. They were one of the best teams constructed on paper that we've seen in a while. I feel like it's going to be similar to what we saw with the Michigan game last year. Yes, I know your argument's the motivation. Ohio State's going to have a chip on their shoulder. I get it. Georgia's just so good, and they've been waiting for the playoffs for what I feel for 2+ months at this point. I think they show up, and I think they win comfortably. But agree to disagree, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, because the Missouri game seemed to be a wake-up call for them because, like you said, they probably could have lost that game. They didn't. Then they went out and they thrashed Auburn 42-10. They blanked Vanderbilt 55-0. They won the world's largest greatest or largest or whatever they call it outdoor cocktail party against Florida by 22. They beat Tennessee by 2 touchdowns. They beat Mississippi State. They shut down Kentucky. They flew out Georgia Tech, and they beat LSU by 20 in a game that wasn't that close in the SEC title game. Ohio State didn't even make it to the title game because they couldn't beat Michigan. And you can say Michigan was the best opponent they probably faced all year, and they got thrashed by it.
Of course, you can't look ahead on the schedule, but I really am wondering when your team is that good the entire season and everyone's crowning you to be the clear favorites to win the title, does Georgia just kick it autopilot to end the year and then they're just going to wake up for the playoffs? Because I can kind of see that. Loud, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that's a thing.
Well, speaking from experience in being, just excellent at everything, it is hard to stay focused when you are so good. And I can attest to that. Every now and then, I feel myself letting up, and I have to give myself a wake up call that even as fantastic as me, I really need to continue to put in the work. So
what's your wake up call? Like Ukrainian ping pong at 4 a.m. just to keep you in check?
Well, you got to go out and humble yourself. Clean out some goat stalls. Maybe get the chickens cleaned up after a rainstorm. That sort of thing. You gotta get. I like getting my hands dirty.
Okay,
it's a good thing. Good thing out there on the Loud Ranch. Mm-hmm. Does your ranch have a name?
We had goat mating. We had goat mating yesterday, so that's always exciting.
Do you have a party for that?
Always
exciting.
Was there alcohol involved? How did that work?
No, actually, they don't. This one Gray, our older stud goat, people love borrowing him because he's like wham bam, thank you, ma'am. He's in the stall. 5 minutes later, he's strutting out with a smile on his face, and bang, you got a pregnant goat. So and he can do 2 or 3 goats in a day. So we actually loan him out to stud for people. Great.
I guess my question is, when you have the two of them together, which of the goats is paying the check?
It's usually in pygmy goat breeding world, the males are actually in demand, so they're the ones that actually get paid.
Okay,
we charge people for Gray's attentions.
You learn something new every day.
Just like James Brown said, it's a man's world, even in the pygmy goat world.
I think that's what James Brown was actually referring to when he wrote that song.
It's a man's world. All right, Scott, give me a final matchup and a score.
All right, so I got Georgia taking on Michigan.
First of all, tell me the line. Tell me the line that's going to be set, and then tell me.
Okay. I'm assuming Georgia wins comfortably. I'm assuming Michigan's going to battle but win. So I think Georgia's probably laying 7.5. If I had to guess, I just think that they're going to view Michigan being about a good team, but Georgia is going to look comfortable in my opinion. So I'll say Georgia 7.5. I think Georgia beats Michigan in a closer game, but I think Georgia covers. I think Georgia probably wins 30-17 against Michigan, but I do like the over in that Ohio State game with Georgia. I think Georgia might put it on them. Give me Georgia winning potentially 41-28. I think they potentially win this game comfortably, but I see points in this game. But I like Georgia beating Michigan comfortably in the title game. Chris?
I think that Georgia's probably going to be favored between 6 and 7 over Michigan. I think Georgia's, unfortunately, unless you're my wife's uncle, who's a Georgia fan, I think Georgia's going to win. I'm going to say 37-24.
Okay. Loud.
I think Michigan gets pantsed in this game. The khakis are coming down to the knees. Georgia they're not going to be able to run the ball on Georgia. That's just their offense of running and grinding down the other team physically. That's not going to happen to the Georgia defense. They're going to be grinding on the Michigan offense, and they're going to stop the run. And when the run doesn't work, I don't think Michigan's quarterback and talent on the outside is really all that. So how are they going to score points? I think they maybe get 14, 17, and Georgia scores 30 to 40 points.
All right, very good. So everybody has Michigan, Georgia.
What about you? Because you mentioned you have a different.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Everybody has the line in the 7 range, give or take, and everybody has Georgia easily covering the number. I kind of gave it away earlier. I'm on the Ohio State bandwagon. OHIO, baby. Let's dot that I. I think it's going to be Ohio State and Michigan. Everybody bitches about the SEC rematches we have every year. This year it's going to be a Big Ten rematch. I think the spread's going to be Michigan somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.5. Ohio State not only beats that number, I think they beat them outright to win the Natty. There's my pick.
I'm not going fully against it. I'm just going to wait and see until Ryan Day actually does something in big games before I pick him to win the title.
All right, fair enough. Guys, any final thoughts?
I'm disappointed, and this is going on one of the games that's going on right now. I'm disappointed that Charbonnet decided that he wasn't going to play in the Sun Bowl because as of yesterday, he practiced and was going to play and then backed out at the last second, apparently. I don't understand the whole concept of we're not going to play in the bowl game. You played all damn season. Why not play in the bowl games?
Fair. Yeah, that's like my wife yesterday. She heard me in my office, like, damn it. And she's always curious to see if I'm mad at something that isn't a football game. And she opened the door and said, what? I said, oh, it's football related. She goes, oh, 19-year-olds letting you down again? Yes, they are.
Well, you mentioned the opt-out thing. If I'm going to segue that back into the playoff, just my last point, I think it's a ridiculous move for Smith and Jigba to not be there for the playoff. I understand that
he's hurt.
No, I get it. He's been hurt for 7 months with a hamstring issue. Like, I feel like at some point you can make the argument he's still hurt. How bad was the injury? Didn't he just pull a hammy?
You ever pulled a hammy?
He pulled a hammy 3 months ago.
You ever pulled a hammy?
Yes, I have. As
Number-
unathletic as I am, I occasionally get up and I've pulled a hammy or two. But
you would
Walk into the fridge.
like intramural football or stuff in college, like whatever. I get it, but the point is, you mentioned the opt-outs. If we're going to segue that back in, you've been a member of the program for X amount of years. You're in the playoff. Try to show up and help the team. I can understand the other players because it's a meaningless bowl game. You're winning a trophy for a school you don't care about, whatever.
Yep.
You're winning the Duke's Mayo. Congratulations. Nobody cares. For a playoff game, though, like the whole reason why you went to Ohio State was to win a championship, and you're just going to abandon your team in the semis and that rubbed me the wrong way. The Smith and Jigba stuff did.
I don't disagree with that, but I will give him a pass, only that I don't have full knowledge about how bad that injury is.
Okay, even if he is injured, can you at least be on the sideline with your teammates rooting for them? Can you be in the building?
Okay.
Is that too much to ask? Is that fair? Compromise?
No, that's legit. Okay. No, and it's not a great look. You just assume at the semifinal level you're not going to have anybody opt out. So to have
I mean, look at Alabama. Bryce Young, Will Anderson, all those guys. They're expected to be high draft picks. They're there. They're playing in
against
the
State.
Yeah, in the Sugar Bowl there. So I mean, that's not even a game where like we're not even talking about it. The semifinal game. It's just a big bowl game. But those guys are there. You have to wonder what kind of message does that send for Ryan Day and the program as a whole that this guy is not there.
It ain't a good one. I can't argue against that. It ain't a good look.
It's just unprecedented because we haven't seen it in a playoff game where this has happened. But I don't know if you weren't going to show up for the playoffs, then why are you still at the school? Why didn't you opt out and just prepare for the draft 6 months ago instead of stringing people along? I just don't understand any of this.
That's a legitimate question. All right, very good.
We'd have to look into his NIL money and see what that entailed. Maybe it entailed his staying in school.
He wasn't playing anyway. You're having commercials while you're not playing? I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. Some of these things, that whole NIL thing has really, twisted the game on its collective ear when you get right down to it.
You're not wrong. It's the immediate transfer, the transfer portal with the immediately being able to transfer without sitting out a year, and the NIL has completely changed the face of college football from what it was even 5 years ago. No question about it. All right. Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks very much for stopping by. You didn't think we'd be able to talk about 2 games for an hour, but yeah, we did it. We pretty much
we're only 37.
No, we're only we were supposed to start at the top, but we didn't. So yeah, we're only 37 minutes in. So not bad. Not bad for us. For people who are known for their loquaciousness. So congratulations.
Look at you breaking out the $5 words.
I sleep with my thesauruses. So
get that word of the day calendar working finally, huh?
I got to get a new one. It's 2 days till the new year. So there you go. All right, guys, place your bets. Who do you like? You like your Big Ten rematch? You like Georgia to roll and take care of business against Michigan? You pays your money and you takes your shot, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. Should be a fun weekend. A couple of other fun games as well. If you guys haven't checked out our video where we do all the other bowl games, make sure you do that. It's these same 4 people that you see right in front of you. We break down the rest of the bowl card through the end of the season. So thanks for watching.
And by the way,
yes,
for as long as this program has been going, there still has nothing happened in the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Nope.
There was 1 field goal.
I missed the field goal. Sorry.
My under is looking good. I have the under 45, I think 45 and a half, whatever it is. Yeah. We're not halfway there yet, and we're in the 4th quarter. So never say never, but I feel good. Anyway, okay, guys.
Happy New Year, gentlemen.
Yes, thanks very much. Thanks very much for joining us. Happy New Year to everybody, you guys, and everybody that watches us. And let's go make some money. Let's watch some football, have some fun. Best weekend of the year for my money. I'll tell you what. Wild card weekend of the NFL is pretty good too.
Yeah,
not gonna lie, but
to be honest, I'm not sure if I even have this weekend in my top 5.
But really, you got
it would normally be, except the playoffs. I mean, we're not going to go into full roast because I know you want to wrap it up. Most of the semifinal matchups suck.
Yeah, that's true. They have not been good.
If they were good games, if you got Georgia, Oklahoma overtime, hell yeah, I'd be interested in it. But I hope I'm wrong. I'm picking 2 double-digit wins because that's what we've seen in the past.
All right, here's my.
So would you put March Madness over college football playoff then?
Yeah,
I think the round of 64 for March Madness is easily the best. That Friday, Saturday wraparound, that's my favorite weekend in all sports.
now see, I'm the other way. I like the other end of it. I like semifinal Saturday, finals Monday, baseball starts Monday.
Oh, so you want to see the good teams against the good teams? What's the fun in that? You got to root for the St. Peters of the world.
No, it's a blast. But as far as just high quality basketball, and the other great thing about this weekend is there's other bowl games. There's other stuff going on.
Yeah.
So it's not just the semifinals.
And NFL.
And the NFL, exactly. So I rate it best weekend of the year is a wild card weekend, NFL. Second best is this one. Third best is March Madness with the semifinals, and then baseball opens the same night as the national championship.
I'll always go with the wraparound on the Friday with that March Madness is my favorite. But any weekend that involves the NBA and NHL playoffs coexisting is probably second because I absolutely just hone in on those two sports for playoff time.
Hey, drop us a comment. Let us know what your favorite weekend is. Who's crazy? Do we have it nailed, or is there another one we're not even thinking of? So let us know what your favorite sports weekend of the year is. But until next season, guys, it's been real. It's been a lot of fun. Scott, I enjoyed doing the show with you all year, and Loud and Chris enjoyed always doing my appearances with you guys. Had a lot of fun. You bring a lot to the table, and I appreciate both of you being here.
Thanks.
Glad to be here.
You too.
All right,
See you, man.
All right, no problem. You guys have a great day. Good luck on all your plays this weekend. Let's finish strong. Let's run through the tape. Let's go make that money, beat those bookies, and we'll see you next time, whenever that might be. Take care, everybody.